Week 1 has come and gone, and with it, a myriad of moments that remind us why we love college football. The Alabama dynasty appears to have finally come to an end. Dabo Swinney offering up half-baked analogies that leave Brian Kelly looking like the bigger man.
It's like getting the final exam day one of class. They made a 65, we made a 58. Neither one of us were great.
I mean, I thought we dominated him in the second half. So he's either a really good grader for, giving himself a 58, or he's a really hard grader on us, or he didn't see the second half, which that might be the case. He might not have wanted to see the second half.
And Mario Cristobal nearly giving us another legendary last-minute choke with brain-dead play calling. We're also back to wondering what a catch is, because apparently the rules from last season weren't concrete enough. But the biggest choke of the week was more puzzling than any of that. As a reminder, we use these criteria to calculate which collapses were mathematically the most brutal. To set the stage this week, we'll first need to rewind back to late last season. November 23, 2024. Yankee Stadium hosts 9-1 Notre Dame facing off against 9-0 Army. The Service Academy hype this season has reached a fever pitch, excluding Air Force. Army and Navy both started the season 6-0. That was before Navy ran into the buzzsaw that was the 2024 Fighting Irish. There are real conversations about Army getting into the college football playoff and securing the lone guaranteed Group of 5 bid. Army only recently joined a conference. Had they remained independent, they would have been fighting for one of the 7 at-large bids, similar to Notre Dame. Now a member of the American Conference, along with their bitter rival Navy, they could work their way in as the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion, and possibly even an at-large bid depending on how things shake out. Finding themselves 19th in the third official college football playoff rankings of 2024, there is a lot of buzz fancying an Army playoff berth. Should they beat Notre Dame, you can only imagine rabid college football fans demanding their appearance in the playoff, even if the 12-team picture still includes Boise State. And Notre Dame, having already lost to NIU, Army could effectively eliminate them. Being in a conference is a very new thing for Army. They've been independent for nearly their entire history since organization in 1890. Sans the 7 seasons they spent in the CUSA from 1998 to 2004, where they amassed a disastrous 13-67 record. But the most powerful and well-funded Army in the world is not impervious to changes in university athletics, at least until there are rumors of massive untapped oil reserves at 700 West Washington Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. Former Army athletic director Mike Buddy went on record as saying, "New NCAA rules, the evolution and growth of the college football playoff, the transfer portal, and name, image, and likeness have all impacted our competitive landscape. So having a clear path to a conference championship while continuing to fight for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy will help us attract, retain, and showcase our exceptional coaches and cadets." And showcase their talents is exactly what they did. Coming into this matchup, they've outscored their FBS opponents by an average margin of 3 touchdowns per game. Through the Black Knights' first season in the conference, they've seemingly taken over. Army is in a unique position with the portal, as it's highly unlikely they ever receive any transfers in. However, they can only lose players that haven't started their junior year. While the portal decimates their in-conference opponents, with the top blossoming talent from the likes of Tulane, Memphis, and UTSA routinely exiting after breakout seasons, it's substantially harder for cadets to transfer out. So even without upper echelon talent, the continuity developed by 4 years in the same system stands in stark contrast to the rest of college football.
A dominant effort once again in the Shamrock Series. Notre Dame wins 49-14.
Getting shelled by the spirit of JFK would pretty much extinguish all of their playoff hype, but the team would rebound with a double-digit win in the American Championship game. And though they would lose an ugly game with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy on the line, they'd cap off the season with a decisive win against LA Tech in the Independence Bowl. In the end, they'd graduate 22 seniors after their impressive 12-2 season. Unfortunately, they would also lose their best running back, Kanye Udo, to Arizona State, as well as all-conference linebacker Elo Mendoza to Georgia, 2 players that hadn't started their junior year and elected to entertain the frenzy of NIL money being thrown around by Power 4 programs. While the starting lineup for the Black Knights would be substantially different than in 2024, the start of their 2025 campaign pitted them against an FCS opponent in Tarleton State. The Texans are a competitive team in the FCS, having made it to the second round of the 2024 FCS playoffs. They've even been rumored as a possible Mountain West edition as the conference looks to add members amidst the ever-changing landscape. A crazy suggestion considering that, merely a few years ago, the Texans were a Division II school. This sort of meteoric rise to relevance is something that seems to happen the most in Texas, recalling that the UTSA Roadrunners went from program inception to CUSA champs in less than 2 decades. Tarleton State, the founding member of the Texas A&M University system, has doubled its overall athletic budget from 2023 to 2026, up to $45 million, a number that will put them well ahead of dozens of current FBS programs. Their matchup against Army marks their 5th contest against an FBS opponent. Most of these games have been utter blowouts at the hands of fellow Texas schools like TCU, Baylor, and Texas Tech. Though somehow I missed this in my previous analysis of New Mexico State, Tarleton played the Aggies in 2020, part of a 2-game NMSU COVID schedule, and Tarleton State actually won, by 26. Anyway, that makes them undefeated against non-Texas FBS schools before they travel to West Point as 14.5-point underdogs. It can be understandably hard to game plan for an FCS team. It's not uncommon to see high-quality opposition come out of the gate slow in these situations. In fact, I'd wager it's rather common. So when Army sputters a bit on both sides of the ball to start the game, there's nothing to panic over. Sure, allowing 2 12-play scoring drives is less than ideal, but by halftime the Black Knights are on time and on target, taking a 7-point advantage into the break. Forcing a 3-and-out to start the third quarter, the situation is perfect to return to Army's bread and butter, the ground war, but 4 plays and a turnover on downs later, something's not right. Last season, the Black Knights averaged 5.7 yards per attempt on the season while scoring a whopping 48 rushing touchdowns, those 48 touchdowns being the second most scored on the ground by any team in FBS, runner-up only to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. But tonight, through 6 possessions, they're only averaging 3.7 YPA after 34 carries. Now, sample size discrepancy is a justifiable concern. But again, this isn't Notre Dame's defense we're talking about. Forget annexing Greenland, the Army needs to focus on annexing a first down. 3.7 yards per clip isn't sustainable. For reference, teams that averaged 3.7 yards per attempt for the 2024 season included Kentucky, Eastern Michigan, and Akron. Apparently, the Army playbook is so classified, not even their coaches can find it. Fortunately, they stopped the Texans on 4th and 1 to get the ball back. After 3 runs for -1 yards, they're forced to go up top, and it works, setting them up to finally break a huge run for a score. Up 14, they're nearly covering the spread, until Tarleton answers on the very next drive. An $800 billion defense budget, and we still can't afford a defense that slows down an FCS school. After an arm punt on the ensuing possession, they get back to holding the Texans to a 3-and-out. Finally, the run game starts clicking. They go for 7, 3, 13, 3, 12, getting into the red zone, already maintaining a 7-point fourth quarter lead. They find themselves with a 94.1% win probability. But on a 1st and 10 from the Tarleton 17, they get cute and toss up a second interception in as many drives. They finally had success on the ground, but immediately squander it by trying to score up top. The Army defense shows its resolve and forces another 3-and-out, their 5th of the game if we include the turnover on downs. They've been fairly effective today, but much like U.S. foreign policy, there are some holes. Because after a 1-play fumble marking Army's 3rd consecutive turnover, the Great Wall of West Point breaks, and Tarleton ties the game with 9 minutes remaining in the 4th, leaving NATO on the verge of invoking Article 5. 4 straight punts later, the Black Knights get the ball with a minute left and a chance to escape being the first FBS team to fall to an FCS opponent in 2025. After 1 play, their starting QB goes down, though after 2 interceptions, maybe the backup is better positioned to lead this drive. Sure enough, he leads them down into field goal range, and after an ugly illegal substitution penalty on Tarleton State, a 43-yard field goal is all that separates the Black Knights from 1-0, but it won't go. Army then engages in a sudden death field goal competition with the Texans, which they lose after 2 short rounds. Perhaps the most embarrassing loss since Vietnam. Instead of invading Venezuela, I suggest they look into invading the end zone. As always, thanks for watching, subscribe if you want to keep your Xbox account, and we'll see you next week.